Have you ever wanted to go for a walk through the Australian bush, but with monorails? Well, now you can. This video contains mid-level spoilers for the 2026 video game Big Walk. I'm not going to spoil any of the puzzles or challenges or reveal anything major about how to complete the game, but I am going to show a lot of the game's landscape and talk about the way it's navigated. Discovering these things for yourself is a big part of the Big Walk experience, so if you plan on playing this absolutely excellent game in the near future, I suggest pausing this video and getting through perhaps the first 10 to 15 or so hours of gameplay, then come straight back here and watch the rest. The main focus of this video is the game's major transport mode, the monorail. It's not really a spoiler that there is a monorail, you'll learn that pretty early on, but it doesn't become a functioning part of the gameplay until a few hours in, and I won't spoil the process of how you get to that. I am going to encourage buying this game, but like all my videos, this video is not sponsored. I just really like the game. Right, let's do this.
Right away.
Big Walk is the creation of independent Melbourne game developers House, and in their own words, it can be kind of tricky to describe. It's a cooperative game designed to be played with a group of friends, taking place in a large open landscape which you have to discover and navigate together. What really makes Big Walk stand out from other open world games is that in-game communication is done almost entirely verbally between players, and just like in real life, you have to be standing close enough to hear one another. If you walk away from the group, you won't know what's going on. The players don't have usernames or any kind of graphic overlay, so you just have to learn to recognize each other, and there are no in-game menus, no inventory, no pause function. If you need to take a break for dinner, you just discuss that among yourselves and let the characters take a nap. Crucially, there's also no interactive map, so navigating the game is very much like manual navigation in real life, with no GPS or internet. There is a large room containing a 3D map of the island on which the game takes place, and there's a paper map and compass you can take with you. But just like a real paper map, there's no indication of where you are on it. You just have to work it out based on landmarks and other context. What all this leads to is that it's entirely possible to get properly lost in this game, either as a group or individually. When one of the team gets lost, the group may have to ditch their plans and form a search party, and there are lots of features around the landscape that can help with this, such as radios, flares, and other ways of attracting attention. The island is quite large, and getting places on foot can take a while. There's no fast travel feature or any other way to compress time, and whenever you re-enter the game, just say you had to sleep in real life for instance, the group starts back at the same central location, and you have to make your way back out to wherever you need to be. All these factors combine to create the need for, the reason I'm making a video about this, the presence of an actual functioning public transport system. So I've recently played through the entire game with a small group, including my 7-year-old son, and fellow transport enthusiast Melbourne Sparks. And after spending several days becoming acquainted with the in-game transport, it became obvious that we'd need to spend some dedicated time exploring and documenting it, just as we've done for many real-world systems. Before I talk about that though, I just need to go a bit more into what made this game such a cool experience for us specifically. As I mentioned before, the game developers are from Melbourne, and the landscape is incredibly faithful to the real-world Victorian coastal environment. All the plants are local, realistic and recognisable,
Nice casuarina.
as well as the overall lay of the landscape. It's not specifically stated within the main gameplay where this is, but we weren't playing for long before realising we know this place. We've been here before. The huge granite peaks leading down to lush gullies full of tree ferns, slowly opening out into wider valleys with winding creeks and rivers leading to little secluded bays divided by granite headlands. This is Wilson's Promontory. And it's more than just a general reference. The game's banner picture on Steam is literally a real picture of Whiskey Bay. The Big Walk map is a pretty faithful 1:20 scale recreation of the lower half of Wilson's Prom. All the major bays, headlands and mountains roughly match up, with a few areas of artistic license in the general proportions and features. To the north, where the real-world Prom connects to the mainland via the Yannaki Isthmus, House has cut it off to create an isolated island, but I'm not going to show you that part because spoilers. I've spent a lot of time bushwalking and exploring in the real world with the same people I've been playing this game with, including at Wilson's Prom itself. So navigating around the game as a group felt incredibly natural and familiar to us. The grass trees, the little creeks coloured a rich brown by tannin from the surrounding vegetation that don't always flow right through to the ocean during dry periods, and the atmospheric soundscape full of familiar birds, and even frogs. There were just so many little moments and details in this game that we recognised as authentic parts of our real-world experience, right down to the methods we use for finding our way around. Anyway, trains. The monorail runs in a clockwise loop around the central part of the island and has 7 stations. Each of the stations has a passenger information display in the form of an oval-shaped network map, with live tracking of the system's 3 trains. The stations are marked, and the one you're at is identified with this red thing, so you can see how far off the next train is. A full trip around the loop takes something like 13 or 14 minutes, making for a roughly 4.5 minute service frequency. Now in real life, 4.5 minutes is very high frequency. It's not long to wait at all. But in a game, it can feel like a long time, especially if it's in the middle of the night. Remember, there's no way of accelerating time here, so you really do just have to sit and wait, and this sort of forced patience is one of the things I really love about this game. It can also lead to forcing certain decisions, like if you're only going a couple of stops and it's a while till the next train, you might decide to walk instead. Just like on the Hurstbridge line.
Departing in 39 minutes.
The stations have a light you can turn on and off, and also a clock, which doesn't really serve any practical use as there's no timetable, but it can give you some idea of how far through the night or day you are. The game days are about 10 minutes long and the nights about 5 minutes. There are lots of ways of achieving illumination, but you might not always have a light on hand when the sun sets. And there are some situations where you might just need to sit down and wait the night out if you can't see what you're doing. Luckily, one member of our team was a very enthusiastic user of the flare launcher, which certainly helped generate some extra light. The 3 trains have different liveries matching their symbols on the map. There's a red one, a yellow one, and a green one. It's not just for looks, there's a real functionality to having them different colours. It can help if you're separated from the group and need to communicate which train you're on.
I made it aboard the green train.
And it also gives you a reference if you happen to leave something on the train. Each train is a single directional 5-car set with a driver's cab in the leading car. These trains are driverless and make their way around the island non-stop if nobody is interacting with them, but there are some manual controls. There's a horn, and a bell, and a headlight switch. And there's also a brake you can use to stop the train. This control is spring-loaded, so you have to hold it in place to keep the train stopped. This is mildly annoying, especially as someone has to stay on board to hold it if you're doing a photo stop, but I can see the function within the game that if one player stopped the train and then abandoned it, the other players could find themselves without transport. The trains don't stop under any other circumstance, so if you wanted to stop at a station, someone has to jump on first and apply the brake. In addition to the formal stations, there are lots of places where it's possible to board the train informally, which is very convenient. However, these options rarely meet modern transport accessibility standards. The second vehicle behind the driver's car is an open goods wagon. Throughout the game, you do have to carry a lot of objects around, often more than you can carry, so it's really useful having this area to transport stuff. The goods wagon has no roof, very helpful for those mid-section boardings. The third car is an enclosed passenger car with 10 seats, and is this an early 2000s M-Train reference? The seats are a mixture of longitudinal and facing social seating, a layout very likely inspired by Melbourne suburban trains. And it's not the only type of seating on this train with a distinctive Victorian Railways flavour. The fourth car is another goods wagon, same as the other one, and finally we have the guards van. In here there's another live network map showing our current position, though unlike the platform ones, this doesn't show the other 2 trains. There's a 2-way radio for communication with the driver.
542, platform work complete.
Which also functions as a PA for making announcements in the passenger car.
Good afternoon, passengers. Please note that from Friday until the following Monday, buses will replace monorails between the green tower and the yellow tower. I apologise for any inconvenience caused.
Then there's a train to base radio, which can be used to communicate to various radio base stations around the island.
Guard of 8562. Receiving you loud and clear, over.
As well as with the handheld walkie-talkies. Remembering that there's no other way to communicate if you get separated, these radio systems are super helpful if one of you needs to, say, climb up a mountain to record some distant views of the train for a YouTube video.
I'm at the top of the red tower, over.
It's generally not possible to walk on the monorail track other than at these designated pedestrian crossings. And there's only a handful of places where you can easily climb into the tunnels. Most of them can't be used as a shortcut. It is possible to step out of the train in the tunnels though, and it was here that we realised we could use the game's hand gestures to communicate using accurate Victorian Railways shunters' hand signals.
Yeah, that's fun.
The monorail is not the only form of transport on the island. There's also a chairlift, which is actually a fair bit faster than the train, but obviously more useful if you're moving between the mountaintops rather than the valleys. It's not really an integrated public transport system. There is this one very convenient interchange spot, though it's not an official station.
No! I'll get on the next one.
Would have been cool if they'd put a combined island platform here. The contrast between these two modes is actually great for illustrating some fundamental transport planning principles. The chairlift has effectively a continuous frequency, with the chairs being about 15 seconds apart. It runs in an almost straight line down the middle of the island, and of course it runs in both directions. This very much leads to it being the better choice for a lot of trips compared to the monorail's indirect single-directional loop with much longer waiting times. Although a chairlift trip can easily become much, much longer if one of your valued team members happens to fall off along the way.
Oh no! Oh no!
In this particular case, we tracked him down to one of the monorail trains about 25 minutes later.
I wonder if there's any clue.
In a time where big tech companies are fighting to destroy your attention span, the internet is filling with inauthentic slop, and media is incentivized to be fast-paced and relentless, grab a bunch of friends and play Big Walk. You might get lost, you might fall off a cliff, you might have to wait for a train, but you will get to see some brilliant sunsets, discover some new plants, and hang your legs off the side of what I can confidently say is Victoria's most scenic monorail system. Thanks very much for watching.